Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari. Yasodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yasodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Radha Vallabha Radha Vallabha Sri Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha. Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. जय वो मिश्र पद परम स्तोत्र श्री श्रीमदेश भक्ति शिला प्रभुपाद की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की हरे कृष्ण. Hare Krishna. So today we are reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, 6th canto. Actually, all of them say Śrīmad Bhāgavatam from canto 1 to canto 14, 12 or 15. But however, each canto has a title, just like a book. All the books will not have a same title. They have a subtitle. So the subtitle for this canto 6 is Prescribed Duties for Mankind. So we all are born as humans, mankind, womankind, so humans. So what are the prescribed duties for mankind? So this is a very important canto in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam that gives very clear instructions on what are our duties as humans, so that way we can make our life successful. Whenever you take up a job, you have a duty. So they give you, these are the list of activities you need to perform. And if you perform those activities successfully, so you'll be promoted to the next step. So similarly as humankind, mankind, so we need to carry over those duties, then our life will be successful. And in that context, today we have this chapter 15. So chapter 15, the title is Narada and Angira instruct King Chitraketu. So Narada Muni and Angira Muni, so they are instructing Chitraketu. So why the instructions? If someone is giving us an instruction, which means, so maybe we are not doing our duty perfectly, or we are being instructed so that we can do duty perfectly. So while doing duties, one might get into lamentation stage, and that was the stage of King Chitraketu. So here, both Angira Muni and Narada are instructing Chitraketu so that they can remove the lamentation of this king and make him understand what is actually real perspective. And today's verse in particular is emphasizing that point. And today's verse is verse number 5. And this verse is aimed at removing illusion. So this King Chitraketu is some kind of illusion. So as a result, he is lamenting in Soka. So much in Dukkha stage, miserable condition. And in our previous chapter, we discussed about the blessings of Angira Muni. As a result, a son is born to Chitraketu. And we all heard in earlier chapters that King Chitraketu. So he was a great king and ruling a large kingdom and very prosperous and opulent kingdom. Although it was very, very prosperous, somehow he felt that his home is not that prosperous. So, so in this world, we all are having some kind of Hridaya Granthi, heart knot. Correct? So sometimes you have only one heart knot in your heart, so which means you only have only one wife or one husband. Whereas in case of King Chitraketu, so he didn't have a son or any child born to him. So as a result, so he married multiple wives. So according to one of the verses in earlier chapters, so he married 10 million wives. But none of them were able to produce any son or daughter for him. So as a result, he was very lamenting condition. Then of course, through the blessings of Muni who performed Yajna, so then his first wife was able to beget a son. So then fast forward, so the king started taking more care on that first wife, and then others became envious. Then they poisoned this son and he died. Then as a result, the whole kingdom is in morose condition, lamentation. The king obviously is in morose condition. Then first wife and others are still not yet. Because they administered the poison, so they are not fully come to the accepting the situation. But anyway, the rest of the citizens of this country were all in lamentation stage. So this is when again this Angira Muni who initially left, he came back. He not only came back alone, he just didn't come back alone. With him he brought Narada Muni. So you're like a double, two spiritual masters. So here in this verse today, what we have are the instruction from two great sages, two spiritual masters for this King Chitraketu. So let us take a look at this verse that we have today. So verse 5. So let us read word by word, then after that we'll read full line. Vayam cha tam cha ye cha ime tulaya kala chara chara janma mritu yata paschat prak na evam aduna api boha. Before we read full, let us invoke auspiciousness. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vayam cha tvam chemi chemi. Vayam cha tvam cha yesemi. Tulaya kala charana charaha. Tula kala chara charaha. Janma mrityuryata paschat. Janma mrityuryata prachat. Prana neven adunapi boha. Pran nevam adunapi boha. Vayam cha tvam cha yemi. Tula kala chara charaha. Janma mrityuryata paschat. Prānevam adunapi boha Vayam cha tvayam cha me shemi Tula kala charana charana Janma mrityur yata paschat Prānivim abunapi boha Vayam cha tvam chayami Vayam cha tvam chayami Ulaskala chara charaha Vayam cha tvam chayami Ulaskala chara charaha Janma mrityur yata paschat Prānivim adunapi boha Vaishnavis. People, Radhe, Hare Krishna. So let us read word to word translation and also purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Vayam, we, the great sages and the ministers and adherents of the king. Cha, and. Tam, you. Cha, also. A, who. Cha, also. Ime, these. Tulya kalaha, assembled at the same time. Chara acharaha, moving and not moving. Janma, birth. Mrityu, and death. Yata, just as. Paschat, after. Prag, before. Na, not. Evam, thus. Aduna, at present. Api, although. Boha, O king. Translation. O king, both you and us, your advisors, wives and ministers, as well as everything moving and not moving throughout the entire cosmos at this time, are a temporary situation. Before our birth, this situation did not exist. And after our death, it will exist no longer. Therefore, our situation is temporary, although it is not false. Purport. The Mayavada philosophers say, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Brahman, the living entity, is factual, but his present bodily situation is false. According to the Vaishnava philosophy, however, the present situation is not false but temporary. It is like a dream. A dream does not exist before one falls asleep, nor does it continue after one awakens. The period for dreaming exists only between these two, and therefore it is false in the sense, sense that it is impermanent. Similarly, the entire material creation, including our own creation and those of others, is impermanent. We do not lament for the situation in a dream before the dream takes place or after it is over. And so during the dream or during a dreamlike situation, one should not accept it as factual and lament about it. This is real knowledge. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjaya Salakaya Chaksurunmridam Ena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishnapadaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namini. Namaste Saraswadevi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pachata Deshatarini. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vranda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So let us read, please read after me this translation. O King, both you and us, your advisors, wives and ministers, as well as everything moving and not moving throughout the entire cosmos at this time are in a temporary situation. Before our birth, this situation did not exist. And after our death, it will exist no longer. Therefore, our situation now is temporary, although it is not false. So this instruction that we, Narada and Angira Muni, gave it to King Chitraketu. Clearly this instruction applies to us. So because we are also bonded by this Hridaya Granthi. Hridaya Granthi. Hridaya means heart. Granthi means strong knot. If you take a rope and you make one strong knot, especially if you take a very strong knot, if you make a knot, it is very difficult to remove. Cutting that knot is very, very difficult. And in case of Chitraketu, he has got 10 million knots, hundreds of thousands of wives. So even if you don't have a wife or husband, we also have some other knot, attachment to number of things. Attachment to, our high birth. So we think we are born in a great family, so in puffed up, so there is also attachment. And attachment to a great education. Sometimes you think, I'm studying in Middle Park, I'm studying in University of Melbourne, I'm studying in Stanford University. So high education, we also become very puffed up. Then of course, after high birth, high education, next high job. Maybe, so we are so much attached to our job and position. So especially if you get a position as Prime Minister of Australia, and then if somebody snatch that position after 1 year, 2 years of your election, so we will be in big lamentation state. What to speak of that even big position, even the small position also. If you are working in a software engineer in National Australia Bank or Commonwealth Bank or for Microsoft, it's very common these days to cut workforce, to reduce, trim, they say trimming. So then when the position is lost, we become morose. Isn't it? So even if you are a sannyasi also attached. So sometime attached to that room in which that person is staying. So if you ask them to vacate to another room, they will be lamenting a lot. They will refuse. In fact, Bhaktivedanta Swati Goswami Maharaj, who is spiritual master of our Srila Prabhupada. So in Calcutta, when they had a big mansion building, so all his disciples, sannyasi disciples in particular, so they were all fighting about who will get which room. Even though they are in room, but they were simply pressuring him to change the room to the better room. So that time, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, so he was thinking that, why did we get this building? We are better off taking all these marbles, sell them, then perhaps print spiritual books, literature, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, print them and distribute. That is much more better than living in a building, mansion with like this nice marble. Correct? So attachment. So everyone from Brahma, the first created being, to insignificant ant, they all are attached. In between, of course, people like us. Prabhupada often refers to Indra and Indra Gopa. Indra, king of heavenly planet, he has so many attachments. In that attachment, he forgets his duty. In fact, that is the cause of all these verses. He disrespect his spiritual master Brahaspati. So from there, all this, if you see, go back to the beginning of the canto, from there all the situations start. So this attachment, Indra and Indra Gopa. Indra Gopa means small insect. Indra is a king, heavenly king, and Indra Gopa is also called Indra Gopa. So this also is trying to be a king in its own small place, that insect. So they all have attachment. So due to this attachment, we start thinking, that the granthi, that hard knot that we built is real. For any reason, something is not satisfactory, we become morose, soka. So we say soka and harsya. In some of the previous verses, so this king Chitraketu was, for a brief period, for a few years, he was in harsya. Harsya means in happy mood, because he got what he wanted. So as a king, so he was looking to have a son who can take over the kingdom and keep the name of the family. That's our attachment. Correct? Sometimes you are so much attached, you have all the position, you have everything, you are almost at the deathbed, but still struggling to make sure that your son becomes the next prime minister. In some of the countries, including India, this happens. Correct? Even Asian countries or some of the countries which are developing, so it happens. They want to make sure that their son or daughter becomes the next ruler of that country. So they won't retire, So we have these 4 stages of life. Brahmacharya, Grahastha, then Vanaprastha, then Sannyasa. Correct? So even though the persons are in age of 70, 75, so they have become prime ministers, big position, but still they won't give up. So they want to see the dynasty continuing. So the moment you attach to this material world, which is temporary situation, but we think it is the permanent, and we want to make sure that our dynasty continues. So just like everyone else, even King Chatru also thought his dynasty will continue. So have a son will rule over. So that way they feel better. And of course, Vedically we say if you have a son, if you die, then he will perform some rituals. As a result, instead of being in hellish condition, you might go back to the spiritual world or maybe Brahmaloka or Pitraloka. Better than being in hellish planet. So there are various reasons. So people recognize that, so there is a life, there is some death. Birth we know, and death is also there. And of course, there is some recognition that after death you pass away. We say, when person is dead, we say, this person is passed away. So he passed away. Who is that person? Body there, his soul, or something of the living force passed away. So we recognize. So we want it to be in a good material condition also. Possibly go to heavenly planet. Correct? Once you go to heavenly planet, then what do? So there also Hridaya Granthi starts. The king of heaven, Indra himself has so much of Hridaya Granthi. hard knot in his heart to be enjoyer. In material world, we all want to be enjoyers. So that's one of the reasons why we got. So this, enjoyment propensity is there everywhere. So as a result of this hard knot. So hard knot need to be broken. So that when can it be broken? Only through right knowledge. Right? So only through right knowledge, it can be broken. Otherwise, very difficult. So that is what we are praying. Om Ajnana Trimindasya. When we Mangala Charanam when we did, so we are praying to our Guru, spiritual master, that we are born in ignorance. Almost like a blind person, we can't see. But the spiritual master, through torch of knowledge, that is the knowledge. Knowledge is the one that can cut. This is the very strongest sword. If you want to cut, you need a very strong sword to cut that granthi, that knot. So here, Angira Muni and Narada Muni are giving this instruction. So they are, to remove that knot. So that way, King Chitraketu can become happy. And you will see as we proceed through this chapter, next chapter, ultimately Chitraketu becomes very happy when he realizes that the situation is actually temporary. So this verse talks about the temporary situation very clearly. So what are these situations? Vayam. So let us go depth into each word by word, then discuss. Vayam. So here they are saying we. So who both Angira Muni, Narada and the king and all the paraphernalia of the king. Vayam. So here in the translation, so Prabhupada said that we, that is sages and the ministers, adherents of the king. So king means he is not alone. King has wives, which is also mentioned here. Then king has ministers. If you are just one person, you are not a king anymore. Correct? If you are a king, you must have many other ministers. And they also rule other subordinates. So the kingdom, king is there and the many levels are there. So adherents of the king. So that Vayam. So then next, Tom, you, that is king. So he's asking, all of these people who are assembled here at this time, they are temporary. So this is very important to make sure to understand our situation. So whatever state we are. So today maybe a person married, has a wife, due to combination of husband and wife, the children are born. So that is and they have a house. That's the situation. That situation is temporary. So so very clearly saying, not only these but also moving and non-moving. Moving, chara, achara. Chara means moving and achara means non-moving. It's like trees. Trees are non-moving. The moving are not only humans, the dogs are moving, cats are moving, rats are moving, mouse are moving, snakes are moving. Right? They are moving and non-moving. So these all are, in the entire cosmos at this time. Not only in Melbourne, Albert Park, but also in the entire cosmos. In entire cosmos, we have so many planets. In previous canto, we have seen description of so many planets. Middle planet, upper planet, lower planets. The more detailed, the nature, characteristics of those planets. In terms of opulence, in terms of the mindset of people. What do they do? How do they pray? So we have studied those moving and non-moving. Entire cosmos at present time, it is temporary. So our situation is actually temporary. It is not false, it's temporary. It's real, but it is temporary. So then this translation continues. Before birth, this situation did not exist. That means your present situation did not exist before your birth. Means before your birth, you were also there, but your parents that you think today, they were different. Your wife was different, husband was different, sons were different, your position, power, they were all different. And similarly, not only after birth, but the situation will not continue any longer even after death. So that means, so whatever that assembly that we created, the relationship and in the bodily platform, so they are temporary. So they are temporary, although it is not false. So they are actually temporary. I mean, in one sense it's real, but not false. So it's real. But it is a short duration of time. So therefore, if something is a temporary situation, and in that temporary situation, few things doesn't work the way you want. So if you become morose and miserable due to that situation, what is the use? It's a temporary. So therefore, we need to look into what is real. In Prabhupada's purport, so Prabhupada actually bringing up discussion on these views of Mayavada. So Mayavada philosophers in the purport, Prabhupada talks about the principle of Mayavada philosophers. What do they say? Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. So they are saying Brahman. So when we say Brahman, so we say living entities, Supreme Brahman, so effulgence from Supreme Lord. So he is factual. But his present bodily situation is false. So that is what Mayavadi philosopher thinks. So Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. So they are saying this Jagat is Mithya. But the Vaishnava philosophy is different. So Vaishnava philosophy doesn't definitely accept Brahma Satyam. So living entities is true. The Supreme Lord is true. So Vaishnava philosophers also accept. But Vaishnava philosophers consider the Jagat Mithya. They don't consider Jagat Mithya. So as devotees, we consider Jagat is not Mithya. It is not false. It is real, but it is temporary. So why it is not why it is real? Because this is coming from Sat. If you look at Vedic understanding, Vedic philosophy, Vedic scriptures, even in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So this world is actually creation of the Lord. So this cosmos is not created by me, right? Small, tiny living beings. So the Supreme Lord is the one who created this cosmos, which means all inside planets, all the living beings, entities, relationships, these are actually created by Supreme Lord. But they have come together temporarily. So very nice analogy was given in previous verses. If you go to, say, a beach, by the force of waves, sand particles, sometimes they just come together, certain particles. Another wave comes, they disperse, they go away. Correct? Our situation is similar. So by force of time, so what is actually playing all of this? The time. Time is the energy of Krishna in opulence of Supreme Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Sri Krishna says that time is my energy. So by that force of that time, that is time energy, so we come together. Again, by force of time, also we depart. Just like force of wave, bring some sand particles together and then disperse in the next wave. Another analogy also given. If you go to river, like Vraja-ra river, or even go to the Albert Park lake, and you watch around, what do you see? Sometimes multiple wood sticks or straws, they come together. They all assemble in one point. And after some point, when some little wave, they disperse. Same thing even happens in Hare river also. If you notice in some places, the collection of straws from the street or wherever they flow into the river, and they are like a dust particle or a star. They are in one place. Then after some moving, then they disperse. Our situation is exactly like that. So at this time, at present time, we are together, Koti son, Koti mother, like that, together, like that others. Correct? So like you, so together, so like others. Or also we are assembled together in the society of Krishna consciousness, also temporary. But we are trying to make it permanent by going back to spiritual world. But in the cosmos, in this material world, it is all temporary. So whether moving or not moving. But it is not false. So therefore, the Vaishnava philosophy refutes, accepts what Mayavada says in the first part. Brahma Satyam. Brahman is true, Satya, true, real. Jagat Mithya? No. Jagat is actually real but temporary. Of course, Lord Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita also, Ashasvata. This material world is Ashasvata. He also said, Dukkhalayam Ashasvata. So it is Ashasvata, temporary. Right? So there is temporary, so a lot of temporary happiness is there, but also full of misery. Anyway, leaving the misery part, and of course here king is also in miserable condition, so that is why these instructions are given, so that he can come out of that instruction. So, so next, so this Brahman, Mayavada philosopher, they primarily focus on Brahman effulgence. So we all can realize Supreme Absolute Truth at three different levels. One is this Brahman effulgence. The next one is Paramatma by yogis. Then the highest one is Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these transcendentalists, they realize at three different levels. There are three different views. So in the elementary level, then high school level, then the university level, the highest. Elementary level, we think, oh, Brahman effulgence. Brahman. Yes, Brahman is a effulgence from Supreme Lord. It is real and it is powerful. It is the energy, spiritual energy. So they view everything as the creation of Brahman. Yes, so we view everything as creation of Supreme Brahman. At least it is the energy is accepted. So then Jagat Mithya, of course, Jagat is actually real. So why is it real? Because it is created by Lord. Not only created by Lord, but also Lord enter into this cosmic manifestation in this material world. Otherwise, how is that I am able to speak? How is that my hand is moving? That ability, that energy, the living force, where is it coming from? It is because Supreme Lord is in us also. So, so Supreme Lord may not direct, not Adi Purusha, but also, but in the form of his, expansions or portions of expansions. So we say Lord Sri Krishna. Lord Sri Krishna is like Adi Purusha. We have Purusha and Prakriti. So Purusha means enjoyer. Purusha. So usually we think male is a Purusha and female is Prakriti, enjoyed. Or Mother Nature has enjoyed. So this Supreme Lord, Supreme Adi Purusha, the Lord Krishna, so he is expanded. So, plenary portions of plenary portions. So in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, so very detailed discussion is given. So as Mahapurusha, for example, expansion. So this Mahapurusha, Karunodaksha Vishnu. So he is the one, through his breath, breathing out, breathing in, even from pores, so many universes are coming. So he is the one who created. So anything created by a Supreme Lord is real. All the universes that we see that are emanating from Mahavishnu, they all are real. And not only that, so the Supreme Lord Mahavishnu, who is the plenary portion of Lord Sri Krishna. In one sense, there is no difference between Lord Krishna and Vishnu. So there are few qualities that are not there, but otherwise they all are also equally Vishnu Tattvas. So Mahavishnu is the one who created universes. And these universes need to be maintained. Who will maintain? If I just make this temple, build this temple and go away, if we just go away, then nobody is here, it will become a ghost room. But this has to be maintained. That's why we have got devotees. Devotees are maintaining the temple. So creating such a nice atmosphere of divinity. When you come, you feel, divine and peaceful. So you run around outside, you come here. Just by mere looking at the beauty of the inside, decorations of temple, you feel happy, pleasant. Eyes feels pleasant, right? You feel comfortable. You won't feel fearful. If you enter into some houses, you feel fearful, isn't it? Whereas when you enter into the temple, you don't feel fearful. You feel energized. You feel happy. Your eyes are satisfied. Your ears are satisfied. Your nose are satisfied. So we feel, transcendental somehow. So that is the situation. So therefore it has to be maintained. To maintain it, Mahavishnu himself expands into Garbhodaksha Vishnu. So that means he enters to each and every universe that are created. That is not enough. Within that universe, we have living entities like me, you, and all of us living entities. We also need to be maintained. We also need to have force and energy. We also need to be guided. We also need to be sanctioned. We have certain desires, they need to be sanctioned so that we can enjoy those, fulfill those desires. So for that we have got Chirodaksha Vishnu as super soul. So Lord is so kind that He is maintaining, He is creating, He is maintaining. Of course, He is the one responsible for annihilating them also. So, but He is the one who is maintaining. So therefore, how can you say this, we are not real? We are real, but temporary. This body is temporary. Our real living force, that is soul, is eternal. So this is something we need to understand. And of course, this understanding is not that difficult. Even if we just take this Australia. So Australia, has controllers. Actually, in one sense, this Mahavishnu, they are controlling. So Mahavishnu is controlling all the universes. Then Garbhodaksha Vishnu is controlling each universe. Within this universe, we have Chirodaksha Vishnu, they are controlling atoms and living entity. Controlling means maintaining. So you say supreme controller, Isvara Paramakrishna Satchidananda Vigraha. Isvara is the supreme controller. The supreme controller is Lord Sri Krishna. Then his expansions are controlling material world. Then within material world, so many universes that control. Within universe, again control. Then within universes, many living entities need to be controlled, many will be maintained. Then also every atom is actually, the atom has an energy. People talk about particle physics. So they are bewildered. How is this particles, small particle, can't even see through eye. It has a force and energy. For that, billions of dollars spent to understand what is the cause of this weight of this particle, what is this cause of the energy. They couldn't figure out. They call it as a God particle. Particle, tiny particle. After doing experiment, in Switzerland, if you have not gone to Switzerland, go. So the boundary of Switzerland and Italy called Geneva. So there they have a big, like a caves, circular. They have made big machinery, particle accelerators. They call accelerators. They accelerate with high speed, like speed of light or force, and they collide. When they collide, energy created. Okay, want to understand what is this in a particle. This was theoretically, proposed, called Bose. Bose. The Bose, the one Calcutta scientist. So he went to America and he proposed that called Bose particle. Higgins, Bose, B-O-S, Bose. So he proposed, those two proposed as a theory. Then this is experimentally proven, yes, there is an energy and that particle is called God particle. So every particle has a God, correct? We say God particle means there is a God inside, right? So this Krishna temple means Krishna is there, right? So God particle means God is in the particle. So this is what it says, Chirodaksha Vishnu, out of kindness to maintain these particles, maintain these living entities. So He is inside our heart and it's real. So it is not a mithya. So it is real. But temporarily, this body is temporary, therefore after this body is left and we go to take another body, either material world or spiritual world, so that continues. Then this analogically understand this controlling. If you look at any country has a prime minister. So prime minister controls a high level. So this prime minister is more like, Mahavishnu. Correct? So then the next level of controller is Australia, they got multiple states. So each state is controlled by chief ministers or premiers. Victoria state is controlled by premier. That ACT, Australian Capital Territory, is controlled by chief minister of that place. They call title the chief minister there. Whereas here we call premier. Doesn't matter. There is one designated person. Correct? So title may be a little different, but the dictionary person. That person tries to control our movement. So during 2020, 2021, our movement was controlled. Who is controlling? We became immobile due to virus, possible fear that virus will spread and then will kill everybody. So we are asked to stay in your home. You must listen to. If you come out, if you defy their order, what happens? They will issue a big fine, as much as $20,000. When there was a full curfew, we order not to come to your own temple. If you come and go around and they catch you, $20,000 fine. So that's how they're trying to control. So controller, that is the next level controller. Of course, then again you come to this land, like Albert Park or a Port Melbourne, small, there is also controller. Correct? So like this, small controller keep coming. So in the same way, so all these controllers are there to maintain us. So it's a real. In fact, because Lord is the source of this creation of material world, and of course He is the creator of spiritual world, and then He is the creator of material world also. So this is what He confirms in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 10. The title is Opulence of the Absolute. So there He says, Aham Sarvasya Prabho, Mata Sarvam Parvatate. He says, I am the source of spiritual and material world. So everything comes from Krishna, from Him. So those who engage and those who know this fact, so only those persons are the one who truly engaged in serving, in worshipping Supreme Lord. Otherwise they don't. So therefore it is very important to understand, so who is the creator, who is not creator, and what is real, what is temporary. So if it is temporary, you have to perform temporary duty also. So just because, our combination of husband, wife, or daughter, son in a house is a temporary, therefore I neglect. No. You have to take care. You have a duty. So as a father, as a mother, you have a duty to take care of your son or a daughter and making sure that they are materially well off and they are spiritually well off. Material well off means you give them reasonable, right material knowledge to their mindset, because each of persons have a different mindset. Some want to be software engineer, some want to be a lawyer, some want to be administrator, some want to be artists, they want to do painting. But if you ask them to do something else, later they will become problem. So we have to understand their material mindset, accordingly give them a direction so that they can engage their time in that activity and then be happy. And then spiritually also. So one is bodily necessities, and then second is spiritually. So since we are eternally spirit soul, so we also need to feed our spirit soul also. Therefore you educate them about, start from childhood, even not only before, after birth, but also before birth, during birth, when they were in the womb. They also need to be educated by exposing them to divinely music, divinely mantras. So that way they become great devotees, just like Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj has heard the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam in the womb of his mother. From whom? From Narada Muni. Narada Muni explained Śrīmad Bhāgavatam to the queen, who is wife of Hiranyakashipu. So he heard in the womb. From the womb only child can hear. Abhimanyu, he also heard from Lord Sri Krishna about this Chakravyuha. So he knew. Similarly, this Prahlad ended up becoming a great devotee. So if we can hear from conceiving or even the baby in the womb, the person knowledge become very strong. They develop strong faith even before their appearance physically. Because after appearance there are too many distractions. Once you are in the womb, nothing else. You have nothing else. You can't go. You can't play. You are stuck there. So the best, your mind is fully concentrated. Hearing, they have hearing ability. They have memory. So he heard and became a great devotee. So he says in this material world, after hearing from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, from Narada, so he became a great devotee, appeared, then pastimes of interaction between Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad Maharaj. So how Hiranyakashipu was trying to control the whole universe, tried to control his son, but he failed. But anyway, Supreme Lord has protected this Prahlad from turbulences that he faced from his father himself. Because we are going to face the turbulence in this world. This material world is meant to give us turbulence. If this world is meant to give us a pleasure all the time, we want to make a permanent residence here. Correct? Permanent in this life, next life, all billions of lives that come up, be here permanent. But this material was not designed to be permanent, it's temporary, and also it's dukkhalaya. So Prahlad realizes that. And then of course when Lord Narasimhadev presented him, he impressed by his devotion, and he told him, okay, I'm giving you 3 boons, please ask whatever you want. Prahlad says, so my Lord, I do not want anything material. If at all, if you want to give me a boon, please give me a boon so that I continue to think of you, engage in your service. That is his first boon. That's what he asked for. But he also tells in, when he was praying to Narasimhadev, he said that when a person is complete devoid of material desires, suppose your material desires become 0, then your spiritual desire become full. At that time, the opulence that you will possess is same as opulence of Supreme Lord. The opulence that we have got, a tiny house, a few things. But if you want opulence, that the entire Vaikuntha Loka as yours. When your material desires become, no material desires, but your desires are fully spiritual. At that time, you possess opulence equivalent of Supreme Lord. So therefore, by giving up these temporary things, detachment, so there is nothing lost. You are going to gain the entire creation of Supreme Lord. And He will make you the owner of, because He is the owner. Who can make you owner? If I am owner of a house, and I can only give it to you, transfer to you. If I am not a owner, I can't transfer to you. So if you become a great devotee of Supreme Lord, so Lord will willingly give you. So, very much, very clear. So in terms of this concept, even Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami, so there, you see 6 Goswamis. The primary Goswami is Srila Rupa Goswami. So Rupa Goswami has written, many books. That are actually instruction from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Srila Rupa Goswami in Varanasi. It's called Kashi or Varanasi. So there he has given instruction, and those instructions from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so he has put together many books. We have books like Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion, small books. If you just follow one instruction, each of them are powerful. So Rupa Goswami says, so when persons renounce the material world as illusionary or false, without knowing that material world is a manifestation of Supreme Lord, their renunciation has no value. If you try to simply renounce, thinking that this material world is, illusion and false, he says that renunciation has 0 value. So renunciation has 0 value when you think that this is, asat. It is false world. So it has no value. But instead, Vaishnavas are like great, Srila Rupa Goswami. So he is, according to them. So of course we are free from attachment from this world, because generally people attach to the material world for sense gratification. Why are we attached to it? Why are we attached to wife? Why are we attached to the son? Why are we attached to all this position and everything? Because we think that they will give us enjoyment, sense gratification. Vaishnavas accept them, they are real, but they are not attaching them for sense gratification. So in the temple, in temple, so we have Lord Sri Krishna, who is a Purusha. So he is the enjoyer. So therefore, the whatever enjoyment that a devotee has, according to the Vedic injunction. What does Vedic injunction says? So everything they see in the context of Supreme Lord. This world is a creation of Supreme Lord. So we have certain relations with Supreme Lord. This is not a false word, this is the real word. If you develop the thinking, so which means even though we are in material world, we are actually spiritual world. In this context, Srila Prabhupada in 1974, on June 24, 1974, he spoke about Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12. The chapter 12 is about, the nature, that is Prakriti, the enjoyer and the consciousness. So there he talked about Purusha, Prakriti, Stohi. Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha means enjoyer, Bhokta. Bhoktaram, Ignatapashyam. Bhoktaram. So one who is Purusha, who is the enjoyer, and then Prakriti, the enjoyed. So a lot of analogy was discussed. One of the analogy was that in temple, so for example, we have Lord Krishna. Who is the enjoyer in this temple? So Lord Krishna is the enjoyer. If you really see the sequence, you go to our kitchen, so they are making bhoga. Then, so bhoga is brought and offered to Lord Krishna. So he is the first enjoyer. Then after his enjoyment, he says, okay, all right, now others. So all those who depend on him, they also enjoy. So we are Prakriti. So he is the real enjoyer and we are Prakriti to be enjoyed. So enjoyer enjoys us. So how is Lord Krishna is able to enjoy bhoga? Because the devotees go and make bhoga and bring it here. So they are putting effort. Therefore, he is enjoying the efforts, fruits of the devotee activities. Because we are Prakriti in one sense. Sometimes we think I am man and woman. Actually, we all are woman only. So those who are brahmacharis, those who are sannyasis, they accept Krishna as their husband. Otherwise, you can't be happy. Everybody needs a husband. Correct? So we also think we are man and Purusha and enjoy. But real enjoyer is Lord Sri Krishna. Real male is, there is only one male actually. We think so many males. Male is enjoyer, the real enjoyer, real male is only one, that is Supreme Lord. And so in that lecture in 1974, June 24, Prabhupada said that this temple is Vaikunta. So his instruction is actually put in that outside all the time. So here we as part and parcel of Supreme Lord. So Mama Mamse Jiva Loke. So in this world, every living entity is part and parcel. So we are part and parcel living entities, tiny part of Supreme Lord, and we are offering service. So therefore, as soon as you become engaged in service of Krishna, when you engage in service, which means you are accepting as you are a servant and he is a master. So according to whose order? Krishna's order. You don't do whatever you want in randomly. So you do as per his order and then serve. Immediately you are in spiritual world. So therefore this material world can also be seen in the context of spirituality. So even though you are inside in this material world, but when you engage yourself in service of Krishna, so that Krishna enjoys, then you are in spiritual world. So that means you have a choice of being in spiritual world or material world. It's you who choose it. If you think you are a master, then you are in material world. If you are a servant of Krishna, you are in spiritual world. So that is what Prabhupada is saying that, we are not living in Melbourne. We are living in Vrindavan. We are living in Vaikunta Loka. So this temple is Vaikunta. So it's just like it's an embassy. Every country you go, walk some 3 kilometers from here, you see Indian embassy. Right? So the rules, regulation, activities, they represent India. Similarly here, so the activities that are there by mercy of Srila Prabhupada that are organized based on teachings of Lord Sri Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Narada Muni, all these teachings are there here to represent that Vaikunta Loka. So this is the Vaikunta. So of course once you are there, you are not in material world, you are in Vaikunta world. So all that you do is enjoy Because when you are with Supreme Enjoyer, and Supreme Enjoyer is not a selfish enjoyer. He is not like a material boss. He will take everything himself and just give you a little. Whereas Supreme Lord, when you devote, when you become His Bhakta, He will give you everything. Not only His material possession, but Himself. He comes under your control. All the great devotees, Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda Maya. So Lord Krishna comes under their control. So not just his energies. So much of love and affection, Lord Krishna. In fact, Krishna, it seems, so he likes to be controlled. Krishna likes to be controlled. But who can control them? Control him. Only those who are truly devoted. Only they can control him. And those are very rare. In Bhagavatam, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord says, out of many millions, only few try to understand what is this transcendental energy means. Among those, out of millions, just few try. Among those who achieved perfection, they hardly know Krishna. We might have become a Jnana Yogi perfect, but don't know Krishna. That's why Mayavadi philosophers, they say, oh, Krishna is not the only Brahman effulgence. So when we become realized, we become Brahman. So I am also Lord, you are also God, he is also God, he is also God, I am also God. So that is the philosophy. So that means we are denying existence of Supreme God. But with becoming devoted, they realize that we are tiny part and particles. We are similar to God in terms of quality, but in terms of quantity, limited. So Prabhupada often gives analogy of a ocean. You go to ocean, take a drop of water, understand chemically the qualities, the content, characteristics of the drop of water, same as the entire ocean. But ocean is ocean, the big. The drop is the tiny drop. So in the same way, so these are explained. Okay. So with that, just to conclude, so what we have looked at today's verse, which is verse 5, so it is clearly, indicating us our situation in this cosmos at this time is temporary. So therefore, do not lament. Instead, come out of this control of this temporary nature, which is material world, modes of material nature. In this material world, our mode, our consciousness is deluded and attracted to so many things and make us ultimately miserable. In fact, in the material world, if you try to control anything, finally it ends up in misery. You try to control Australia, you end up being in misery. You try to control Victorian state, you end up in misery. You try to control Port Melbourne, you end up in misery. You try to control your house and your sons and daughter, you end up in misery. You study anybody, pick up anyone who tried to control, they were in misery. Not only in Australia, but also in India and America, everywhere. Correct? You hear all the time that President Trump, he tried to control the democracy election, they have thrown him away, but still he want to control. He thinks people have polling, something happened, manipulated, therefore actually I am the winner, but so he still thinks he is the winner. And then of course other party is going after him, but anyway this is going on. So he is miserable. Every day giving some statements. Same thing, everybody. So this is the situation. So if you try to control sons or daughter, they won't listen to you. So this is one of the reasons why, so some of the people realize that it is impossible to control these sons and daughter. So let us not have them. Instead we adopt a dog. So we can control dog better. That's how they try to derive happiness. So it is impossible. Even dogs also definitely not possible to control. Even they actually start controlling their masters. Initially they act like controlling. Then after that, you have to become their servant. Very simple. You just walk and see. So who is the master, who is the servant? The dogs are the master. They are royally walking like a king. They do whatever they want. The duty of taking care of them falls on this person. If they poo, you have to pick up immediately. If they are feeling cold, you have to put a jacket for them. If they're feeling little, you have to wash them. So all the time you have to serve. So they have become master. But they think, people in illusion think that we are controller. Yeah, so this controlling process is very dangerous, and it is, of course, nobody was successful by controlling. Therefore, we cannot be successful by controlling. All we can do is try to control our mind, so thereby understand who we really are and what is our true duty, and then make our life successful. And if you can engage this mind, so this mind is something within us. So if we can be successful in controlling mind by engaging this mind in higher things, higher divinity. Either you can engage this mind in material management and control, or you engage your mind in divinity. So Krishna Das, poet, he says, Bhajahure mana Srinanda Nandana Abhaya Chanaravinda Re. So if you engage your mind in Srinanda Nandana, that is son of Nanda, that is Krishna's lotus feet, you will become fearless. We want to be fearless. Who want to be fearful? Fearful is a miserable condition because all the time we have a fear of so many things. But if you want to be fearful, no fear, then you engage your mind in Srinanda Nanda's lotus feet. So his Charanaravindha. So lotus feet means serve him, keep him as the mind center of your life. Perform your material activities, but keep Krishna as the center of your life, center of your mind. Then you will be happy and peaceful. The goal of all of us to be happy and peaceful. Sat Chit Ananda. Just like Krishna is the Sat Chit Ananda, unlimited bliss. Similarly, we are his part and parcel. We also want to unlimited bliss, and we can only get unlimited bliss simply by connecting ourselves with the unlimited bliss. See, I want to draw an energy. Where can I get from? I have to connect to energy source. Then only I get energy. We have this light on because it is connected to socket. Socket connected to the electric pole. Electric pole connected to the generator. If you disconnect any point, energy will go away. If I just disconnect from there, after some period, mobile phone won't work. It won't broadcast the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam glory anymore. So everything needs to be connected. Since we are seeking ananda, happiness, whether it is a spiritual world or a material world, we need to connect it. The moment we disconnected, even if you are in spiritual world, you will be transported back to this material world where difficulties are there, where we try to be tiny controllers, but come under all this miserable situation. And this instruction of Angira Muni, Narada Muni, clearly, giving a right knowledge. Through that knowledge, they are trying to remove the Hridaya Granthi of this King Chitraketu, and thereby he will be happy forever. You will see later that how happy he was by following instructions of Angira Muni and Narada Muni, and so much happy that he was able to get darshan of Supreme Lord. Then after that life is over, he went back as when Vraja-ra was killed. This Chitraketu in next life born as Vraja-ra, which we already heard. Right? So Vraja-ra at the end, he went back to Sankarsana Loka, Vaikuntha Loka. So living happily and peacefully all the time, eternally. So same thing we also have to do. That's a nice lesson to be learned from this story of King Chitraketu. So with this, let me stop here. Hare Krishna, thank you. Any comment and question? Yes, bro. Maybe you can take this mic.
Bro, you mentioned that the way Lord Vishnu maintains the universe is that it's through Mahavishnu. He maintains all the innumerable universes, and then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu enters into each universe to maintain the universe, and then Kishora Dakshaya Vishnu enters into the living entity, the jivas. Where does Karana Daksha Vishnu sit? Is Karana Daksha Vishnu Mahavishnu, or is it a separate maintainer?
Yeah. So, three Vishnus. One is Mahavishnu is also called as Karana Daksha Vishnu. Because, so he is on Ananta Shesha, he is lying on Ananta Shesha in Karuna ocean. So he is the first plenary portion of Shankarshan or Lord Krishna. So from his pores, so many universes are appearing just by breath out, breath in. When you breath out, universes are coming out. Breath in, universes are disappearing. But that time from our tiny world, it looks like trillions of years. But for him, it may be just like our breath and breath out. So he is the creator of all the universes. So therefore, you can say he is the controller of all these universes. Because all this, the whole cosmos need to be stable in one place. Then that is overall. Then after that, he expands himself as Garbhodaksha Vishnu to maintain the universe. Then he further expands himself as a Chirodaksha Vishnu, that is super soul, to maintain us. Actually, he is maintaining us, not controlling. He is not at controlling. If he is controlling, then we will do the right thing. But he has given us a free will. So he says, I want to do this. Okay, so he says, like a kind father, he says, that is your desire, and he sanctions. And says, we say, man proposes, God disposes. So we propose that I want this, I want to do this, I want to enjoy this way. So as a good father, his intention is not to allow you, but what to do. So he says, all right. So he disposes. So he says, all right, he sanctions. Yeah, so he's in one sense, he is, he's actually maintaining. The moment he leaves, our body is useless. So we also have to leave. So the moment the body is no more useful, we leave the body. Yeah, so this is, actually it's all about maintaining us. The word control is, can be misunderstood. So in material world, we say, oh, this person is controlling me. It is taken that he is trying to push his, enforce his will. His thinking very selfishly. The control is associated with selfish motive. But whereas maintenance, taking care is associated with in a positive way. So he is the one who is maintaining all the cosmos. He is the one who is maintaining the cosmos itself. He is maintaining every living entities and atoms within this cosmos. And of course, these are temporary. The intention, the Lord wants us to go back to spiritual world from where we really belong to. He is not interested in you being here and make it permanent. He would like you to come back. But those who enlightened, so they take responsibility, either Supreme Lord or his representative, to educate others. So here in this chapter, we have Narada Muni and Angira Muni explaining all this in a very simple way. Such a nice way. This situation is very temporary. Simple analogy. Sands come together by force of wave, then depart. Yeah, very simple analogy. So you have force of energy. So very in a simple way, explained that way, the king Chitraketu can understand. I mean, anybody, we also need to be told that way. So understand and realize that this is the temporary, and there is a controller, supreme controller, and under his direction everything is happening. So therefore, so we take those instructions that are given in Bhagavad Gita, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, follow in our life and be successful and make your human life successful. Thank you, bro. All right, so now time for honoring Lord Krishna's mercy in the form of prasada. Hare Krishna.